Julian.
Hey, what's up, brother? How are you?
Good, man. How are you feeling?
Fantastic.
Man, so it's been 4 months since your big win at UFC 279.
Yeah.
It's kind of like look back at that, man. Like that was a huge win. You went out there, you shut Hakeem up. He was talking a lot of trash. It was probably your biggest win of your career. Would you say?
Yeah, for sure. And I honestly, I had no idea he was like kind of talking down about my striking because I don't really follow people's like interviews, but people sent it to me, and then even afterwards, I checked out what he had said, and so, during it, I didn't know he was talking like that, but I think he overlooked me, and he paid the price for it.
And just it's been a wild ride, right? So far, like I think with the win on Saturday, it's going to be even crazier because you'll get in those rankings. But like, I don't know if people realize or even remember, like you were cut from the UFC twice, and then you fought your way back, and now you're on a brink of a top 15 spot. Like, just how's it all feel?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Obviously, I was on the Ultimate Fighter back in 2016, which seems like a lifetime ago. And did really well in there, and then got cut from the UFC after my first loss in the UFC, and then got re-signed and had 3 losses in a row, and then really had to try to pick the pieces up and figure out what I was going to do next. And luckily for me, the pandemic hit, and I was able to get a short notice fight, and I really was able to take advantage of that. And so I'm just happy with how it's turned out, and just happy that I've been able to perform how I know I can.
What's changed?
Just that mindset, previously I thought, like early on in the UFC, that I needed to be spectacular and impress people. Like, oh, I'm in the UFC now, I got to really impress the UFC to make sure they want to keep me around. But the problem with trying to impress people is you might be a little more risky, and then if you're not winning fights, you're not going to keep your job anyway. So you got to there's kind of a fine line between being an exciting fighter but also winning fights and putting a streak together like I have. And so I think that's been more just taking the pressure off my shoulders on trying to be spectacular and just go out there and fight.
GCJ versus Bruce Leroy. On paper, it's a fantastic fight. What do you think of the matchup?
Oh, it's fantastic, and that's, I've been asking for this fight for a while, mainly because I think it's just a fun one. He likes to stand and trade, and he's very creative on the feet, and I feel like I'm pretty unorthodox on the feet as well, and we're both decent grapplers as well. So I feel like anywhere this fight takes place, there will be no stagnant time. It's going to be all action for 15 minutes or until someone gets finished.
I mean, you have been asking for this fight for a minute now. Were you surprised that you got it?
I'm not really surprised about anything. Sometimes you ask for something and it comes, and sometimes you don't ask for something and it's something you wanted and it comes anyway. So, I just figured it'd be a good matchup after my last win, and he lost his last fight, so I feel like we're kind of hovering around that same area. So it'll be kind of the guy who wins this kind of hits that 15 spot maybe.
And then finally for me, Extreme Couture, big fight or big weekend this weekend. Yes. How does it feel to go to war with your gym?
Yeah, it's nice to have people on the card that I see in the gym every day training hard and working their butts off, and everybody that's on the card, and most fighters that are in the UFC are really nice people. So you get to know these people and you want them to win as well. And last time Sean Strickland was the main event is when I fought Peterson, and it worked out great for us that night. And so I feel like having a repeat would be amazing as well.
Awesome, man. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
With the holidays coming up, some people, like myself, gain weight through food and drink. Have you got any pro tips as an athlete of how to lose that after Christmas?
Oh, man, I just train my ass off, really. I mean, you just got to work it off. And honestly, for me, I don't necessarily have to worry about my weight if I'm training really hard. But if I'm not training, so after fights, it's difficult, especially in the holidays because, you have all the good stuff to eat. And so if I'm not training after this fight and I'm eating like crap, then I'll gain a lot of weight. So it's always you got to stick with one of them. You got to either diet really well or you got to exercise. So, or if you're really trying to burn it, do both.
Bobby Green was just in here and he suggested smoking a blunt for breakfast. Is that something you'd recommend too?
I mean, to each his own. I'm not a heavy weed smoker. From time to time I will, but I don't know. I feel like that would get you more hungry.
Yeah, that's what I was.
For me right now, obviously, I'm just drinking a bunch of water and keeping my calories low to lose the weight. So maybe just drink a lot of water.
Thank you.
Of course.
Alex has such a unique sort of awkward striking style at times. Did you bring anybody in particular to try to help prepare for that in training camp? And how do you emulate that and prepare for that?
Yeah, it's hard to really emulate anybody specifically, but you got to get guys that are like, decently good looks for you. And Adam Frank and my buddy Yaz, both those guys train at 10th Planet, and they're both like tricky southpaws who have good grappling as well. So I use both of them for my sparring, and I think they gave me really good looks. I think both of them in their own right have better, aspects of MMA than even Caceres himself. So I don't think there's anything that Caceres is going to show me in there that I haven't seen. But then again, you don't know until you're in the cage area with him. Like, even my last fight with Dawodu, he thought his striking was, way above mine. But he doesn't know until I'm in there with him. And then I kind of surprised him. So I don't look past anything Caceres has, but I feel like I've covered all my bases.
And like you said, both of you have good stand-up skills. You got both good ground game. Do you think the difference in this fight is going to be a matter of if one of you is able to get it to the ground? Do you think that's going to be the difference, or do you think you can see it ending on standing?
Honestly, I feel like if we go to the ground, I think I'll have the advantage. But I feel like I should have the advantage everywhere as well. You want to be confident going into these fights. But like I said, you don't know until you're in there. I could go in there and he could touch me on my chin and I could fall over, even though I've never seen him really one punch knock somebody out. And I don't feel like he will have the ability to submit me, but I could go in there and you can submit me in a minute. So you don't know until you're really in there. So, but like I said, I feel like I've covered all my bases and I'm prepared for everything.
And kind of what Alex was touching off, you're coming on here with a nice little win streak going on. What's been sort of the secret to success, or is there a secret, or is it just hard work?
Obviously hard work and trusting and believing in the process is good, but like I said earlier, when I first got in the UFC, I felt like I had something to prove. I felt like I was fighting different because of it. When I was on the regional scene, even in the Ultimate Fighter, I was real young and naive and just like fought. I just went in there and fought, and I performed really well because of that. I didn't really put any expectations on my fighting ability. And then once I got in the UFC, originally I was like, I have to be good. I got to get submissions, I got to get knockouts, I got to be exciting. And then that kind of took over, and I was worried about unnecessary variables. And so now I go in there and fight. And obviously being kind of a fan favorite and getting on this win streak, I really have nothing to prove. People have seen what I can do, and so I just go in there and fight, and I feel like I'm a bit more relaxed in there now.
And that kind of answers sort of the next question, but keys to the victory. What needs to happen to make sure that you get your arms raised on Saturday?
Yeah, just focusing on what I've been working on, just go in there with a clear mind, being cool, calm, and collected, and just fight like I know I can, and I should be able to beat anybody on any given night.
Best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much.